Hi, how are you guys today? Welcome to my video podcast. I am Socks for Mom. My name's Becky, and you probably found me through my blog because I have recently decided that I'm going to start video podcasting instead of writing blog posts, which are very time consuming. I love to write. But I'm going to break it up by doing this every once in a while. I think this is a lot easier. I like to talk, and so I'll be talking about knitting today. I'll be talking about the Master Knitting program. I'll be talking a little bit about quilting and a finished object, which I'm wearing, and some other things I have on the needles. So welcome to my podcast. Let's get started. I am wearing my finished Marled Magic shawl. Now, I participated in a knit along with Wool and Vine and Jinx yarns. They had a October challenge to knit a Marled Magic. Actually, I think it started in September. We're supposed to be done by October 31st, and I'm finished. Woohoo! I've got tassels today. Now, I was torn on the tassels. As you see, my bind off is in this Madeline Tosh candlewick color. And it's kind of a grello. It's a little bit greenish, a greenish yellow. And I wasn't sure if I wanted this color on my shawl, but I knew that when I made a tassel out of this blue, and it was just too much blue overall. I didn't really like it. And then I did a mixture of a whole bunch of different yarns, and it was too hodgepodgey, so I thought, well, shoot, just go ahead and do the yellow one, and I absolutely loved it. It's like the icing on the cake. So here's my yellow tassel. Now, Stephen West, you learn so much every time you do one of his shawls, and he suggested using a yarn swift. And that was a time saver, making this tassel. It made it go by so much quicker. So here's my Marled Magic. Another crazy West shawl, but I love it. It fits great over my shoulders. It will be great in the wintertime. It will be great for sitting out on my deck and knitting, which I can do here in Texas all winter long, which is a really great thing. I couldn't do that when I lived up in the mountains in Colorado. Winter was very long there. So anyways, I would have been wearing this in the summertime on my deck. So I love it. And I'm working on another Stephen West design. Now, this is my exploration station. And my friends in Colorado, last year, I guess, maybe more than a year, we decided to do a sheep study and spin the yarns for an exploration station. I believe that was August a year ago. Well, I was busy packing up to move down here to Texas, and I did not think I had time to spin all the fiber, do the research, and finish up with them. So I thought I'd take a shortcut. My shortcut was to use stash yarn. But guess who has not finished hers, and everybody else finished theirs long ago? With the exception of one friend who just finished. So here is my exploration station. It's also in Madeline Tosh yarns, which I do love. I love knitting with singles. These are kind of crazy colors too. I don't know what's up with me and the crazy colors. I'm usually pretty subdued in my color choices. But I'm not going to take it off the needle. I'm to the straight knitting part. And then I have a chevron or something down at the bottom. Can't really remember. Then I'll be done. Now I have found, I'm knitting these on my Lykke needles. I don't know how to say it. Ellie of the Skandir, who is Norwegian, told us how to say it, and I still can't remember how to say it. Anyways, I am knitting these on a 24-inch cable. Now, the pattern does not call for such a big cable size. It says to put it on a very, very long one. But I remember Elizabeth Zimmerman saying in one of her books that anything can fit on a 24-inch cable. Now, I have, I think, 395 stitches on this 24-inch cable. And what I like about it is you're not constantly trying to push the stitches along the cord. They just naturally are always where you need them to be, which I really like. Excuse me, I need to hide that. It's really distracting me. I'll figure out how to edit at some point. So I'm sorry I did that. But it kept catching my eye. Now when you have such a short cable, of course you need to have something on it to make sure those stitches don't just dance right off your needles. So I have something called a needle keeper, which this is another one of my favorite little things, knitting gadgets to have. I got it on Etsy, I believe. It has in the bottom this little plastic opening, and you slide your needles on. And it's great for circular needles. Is that cool? So soon, very soon, this squishy exploration station will come off the needles. And I will have one more thing cleared off my deck. I have a half-finished object to show you because I finished one monkey sock. I don't think I will ever get tired of this pattern. You see my little kitty got broken right there. This is just such a beautiful pattern by Coopey. After I show you the two pairs, I'll tell you what yarn this is. It's very fast knit. The next sock I cannot wait to start after those are done are my Christmas socks. And I bought this pattern, this booklet several years ago, the Harry Potter Knits. And I wanted to make these socks for several years. This is the year. I have the yarn. I'll try to not show the pattern. I mean the directions for the pattern. They are twins, and the pattern is called Fred and George socks. How appropriate is that? Look at the hills. I love this. The pattern's by Rachel Coopey, which I'm not surprised. I love her patterns. She is Coop Knits on Ravelry, and she always combines colors together. She's kind of known for knitting fraternal twin socks. So these were very appropriate for her to design. They're great. I cannot wait to start Okay, the next thing I want to share is for my friend Carol. Hi, Carol. It's some crocheting, which I'm not a crocheter. But I saw this on Little Bobbin's Knits. Not this, but the pattern. She was doing one. And then after I saw it on her show, I started seeing them pop up all over the place. And what is fun about this sorry, I'm just caught up in the colors because it's another magical thing to knit. Because when I'm working on this, I'm remembering the socks that I knit. So right now, these two rows right here are some socks I'm working for my hubby. I've already finished one, and now I'm doing the second one. And so this is going to be my goal. Every time I finish a pair of socks, instead of dropping that little tiny ball into a jar, just in case I ever have to darn socks, which I never darn socks, I'm going to knit some rows of this. I'm going to knit. In fact, I don't have to finish socks to do it. I have lots of little balls and ends, and I'm just going to have fun knitting this with all my little, I just grabbed all my little balls. It's going to be fun. Anyways, Carol asked me how I was doing when I get to the end. I'm having problems still, Carol. I have to look at the directions every time. To me, crocheting doesn't seem as accurate as knitting does. I mean, it's hard for me to know what a stitch is almost. So on one end, you have 2 single crochets, is what we call them here, double crochets. And on another row, you have 1. So I'm just still a little bit confused, but I'm getting there. I found some great tutorials, and they're helping me a lot. I'm very visual. So I watched the videos. They went a little bit too fast for me. I read the instructions, and that was hard for me to visualize. What has finally worked is somebody put out good old-fashioned photos of each step, and I think it's clicked in my head. So hopefully I've got this. So my granny stripe Afghan may be a little wonky on the ends for a little bit, but it'll all wash out, block out, maybe, hopefully. The last thing I want to share with you today is about the Master Knitting program that I'm enrolled in. I told you last time that I'm on level 2. There are 21 swatches I've had to knit for this level. There are 5 book reports, 1 thesis report on the history of knitting, and 3 final projects, a Fair Isle wristlet, a pair of Argyle socks, and a vest. And each one of these demonstrates things that I have learned through my research on all the swatches. So I am on the very last swatch that is actually a 3-parter. I have to knit a cable swatch, and I need to pick a fairly intricate pattern. I'm looking at a lot of stitch dictionaries. This one's a harmony guide. I have to pick a fairly intricate pattern because I need to knit 2 multiples of it with 3 repeats. And this is a fairly large swatch. I think it can be 5 inches by 8 inches, not quite don't quote me on that, but so I have a little bit of room to work with. The number of rows, but it cannot be a rope, cannot be a horseshoe. And the one cable pattern that I'm drawn to a lot is this staghorn cable right there. I see a lot of patterns that have this knit into it, and every time I see one, I just really like it. So I think that is probably what I'm going to be using. Now, what I have to do is, after I knit my swatch, I add moss stitch around the edges. And then I have to write a pattern on how to knit this swatch, which would include the moss stitch on either side and the patterns and the repeats. I have to produce a chart for it, which that's a little technical thing that I think I can do because I've made other patterns before and I have a program to graph out charts. And I have a template, a pattern template I follow that's provided by the master knitters. And the whole purpose of this is to help you as a designer, because I believe each publisher has their specific template that they use. If you look in a magazine, a pattern by Rachel Coopey, for instance, in this book that I have, may look totally different from the one that she publishes on her own. It's whatever the publisher, whatever their template is the one you have to use. So this will help me with that. And another thing that I will learn through doing this is I have to rate whether this is an easy pattern, an intermediate one, or an advanced. There's criteria that you look at to determine what kind of pattern this rates at. You just don't willy-nilly say, this is an easy pattern or this is an intermediate pattern. There are specific things that, guidelines that you look at to determine that. And so that's my next step. I have other cable books. I have some not for sure, but I'm leaning towards that staghorn. I have Barbara Walker's Treasury. I have 3 of them. I believe there's 5. These are wonderful. These are great to have in your library. I have this book. And then I have a new book that I don't have here with me, but it's absolutely beautiful. It's by Nora Gahn. And her patterns are lovely. She has taken cabling to a degree that I have never seen. And I'm going to write a book report on this. So when I'm done doing that, I will share with you my thoughts on that book. Unfortunately, I can't use any of the cables in that book other than for my own personal use because they are copyright. It's not like it's a stitch dictionary like these are where you can take those patterns and use them. So anyways, it's a beautiful book. So, and then the last book that has always been an inspiration to me is Alice Starmore's classic book on Aran knitting. Now just look at that sweater on the front cover. Her designs are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I love that cable going up there. Just beautiful. This is a wonderful book. Is that pretty? It would be a little warm for Texas. And actually, it probably would be a little warm for me no matter where I live because I get hot pretty easy. So anyways, that is how I'm spending my day. I hope you all are having a wonderful day, full of joy, full of knitting goodness. I believe Elizabeth Zimmerman said that in the clacking of the needles, there is music for the soul. It's not exactly like that, but that's kind of the gist of it. And I hope you are having lots of music for your soul today. Thank you for stopping by. If you like this podcast, please give me a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing because I think I will be doing this on a more regular basis. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.